Mic check, mic check. Welcome back, everyone. Yes, we have a new camera. I can talk a little faster now without any of the blur. Sorry about that. I can move in and I can move out and I can do like this and I can do like that. Okay, today we're going to try to keep this one short, simple, and sweet. Again, this is mainly the HTML portion. We are not including any CSS as of yet, so we can actually look forward to looking at that on the next part of the video series. Pretty much what we're going to do is take care of tables. Tables are very similar to an Excel spreadsheet. There's nothing really pretty about them, but without further ado, we will start the series in the session on HTML. Tables, tables, tables. And of course, we don't really like working with all of those. So let me just get rid of my beautiful face for a quick second. Look down at the mouse. There we are. Okay, everyone, make sure you have your Visual Studio Code up and running. You're going to need that, so pop that up to the left. If you have one monitor, just put it on right in the center. And I just want to give a big studio shout out to my assistant, to the regional executive assistant, Noah, for helping out. Thank you very much. All right, let's see. We have the bakery series up. And let me close that out because we're not working with that. We did that last time. Okay, here. We're going to create a new file. Again, we're working with HTML tables. And we're going to just call it tables.html. And I believe we all remember what we need to actually type in to add the boilerplate HTML. So that's going to be an exclamation mark. That sets us up with the boilerplate HTML. And we're going to call this tables. And let's see what we got here. What can we start out with? Anytime we're working with actual tables, we are going to add a brand new element to the actual HTML that we've been working with. And it actually is just as easy as it sounds. It begins with table. And here we go. Just like I mentioned before, Visual Studio Code will actually end the table element. So as you can see, we begin the actual table here and it actually ends here. Inside the actual table, and just so we can actually see something, we always use Live Server. So let's right click on our file, click on Open with Live Server, and that should open up an actual browser. Slide this over to the left. Click the Documents Explorer folder over here, and just to make sure this slides over, there's some recent videos that I've been working on. There we go. Now we'll be able to see all of our actual changes. So let's close this, and we have our additional table element now. And what we're going to need here is start with the actual table row. So you're going to need a TR element. And inside that, we're going to actually put, let's say we're working on a board meeting schedule of some type. So let's put in a table heading. So you're going to need the TH element for that, which will be a table heading. And let's see, we don't see anything on the actual screen as of yet, but let's actually put something in. Let's see, let's put testing. And let's copy that by just selecting the whole thing. Control C, Control V a few times. Now we have 4 different types of table headings. But what we're going to put here in these table headings is, let's go with January. And actually, I'm going to leave this one blank because it's going to kind of look like a next, and I'll show you why I'm going to leave that blank in a second. But let's start with January board. Then we're going to go February board, pretty much like board meeting. I could just I'll put MTG just to keep it short. And we have February meeting. and March board meeting. Okay, and then we're going to just copy this table row. So the row itself is pretty much going from left to right. I'm going to copy that and make another row, but inside that row, we're going to put here just for January, meeting counts. So January meeting counts. And what are those actual meeting counts? Let's see here. Let's say for January, there was only 10 people. Okay, and you'll notice we have January board meeting and 10 people for the month of January. And now, so that's lining up with this here. I just left this blank because we didn't want anything in the actual first column, okay, or the actual cell itself. So for February's meeting, how many people attended that one? Let's say it was just 3. Okay, and now we have 3 under February's board meeting. And then for March board meeting, let's say there was 33 people. Okay, and now what we can do, so that was just for the January meeting counts. In January we actually had, or actually just meeting counts. Let me take that, just meeting counts, or monthly. There we go, monthly meeting counts. There, that seems to make a little more sense. And now we can copy this and actually add in another table row. Okay. And I can actually get rid of this entirely. So it's really going to be dependent on what you actually want here. So I can have meeting counts continuously going down in the same cell. I can have, we can actually go maybe week 1. Let's say week 1. And then we can actually go on ahead and put week 2. So it's really going to be up to you as to what information you want there. Okay, and then we can actually change that information and say, oh, week 2 in January was slow, so there was only 1 person. And of course, there was 34 people for the month of February of week 2, and week 2 for March, we can say it was somewhere along the lines of 333 people. Okay, then we can copy that. Let's add a third row here, and I'll paste it. Gonna make a change here and say that was week 3. Say 11 people in January. Notice the change here. And we'll go with 4 people. Notice the change here. That's for February. And we'll just go with 0. All right. Okay. And really, that is pretty much it right there. Usually, this is something that we actually used to use for the actual layouts of pages, but we're not going to get into that because that's very, very old type of coding style. Again, this is only HTML itself without the CSS, in which that's going to actually make the actual tables look much better than they actually do. We can actually add at least a little something extra here. Let's just add a width of 400. And let's add a border just to see a little separation or a little bit of division between the cells and the rows and the columns. Okay, the actual rows itself going all the way from left to right, and the actual columns are going up and down. Okay, so we're gonna add an actual border. It should highlight an actual red itself because this is all old deprecated styles. So we don't want to use this type of style, but again, you may end up actually seeing it if you're out in the field. So now we have a border. It looks a little more like an actual Excel sheet. You can add pretty much any type of data that you would actually put here. Most of it would be dynamic, in which something would actually be coming from maybe an API or maybe a backend service, in which both of those will actually take a look at later on in the actual series. And I think one more thing, let's add an actual background color. And again, you would be using styles for this, which was CSS. So let's go on ahead and let's see here, add just a light gray just to see what that would actually look like. Okay, so now we have a light gray background. We have some actual borders. We have week 1, week 2, and week 3. We have the January board meeting, the February board meeting, and the March board meeting. Nothing special here, but again, in order for us to actually become better web developers, we need to be able to see different types of elements that we're actually using here. So today's element of choice was, of course, the table element. Inside that, you're actually going to find different types of rows, and within the rows, you'll have a table heading, and then, of course, you'll continue on down with the actual data itself. And it looks like I have actually table headings here, but wait a minute. I believe what we should actually be using here is actual table definitions. So let's go here and put table definitions, and just to see that shouldn't really change anything else, which it does not. So these should actually be, there we go. Let's make a change here. So you have your table headings, but then you have your table definitions itself. TD and TD and TD. And then the beginning portion will be the actual table heading itself. All right, and it looks like we have our actual numbers being aligned to the left. So let's actually make that quick change here. So I have the table headings up top, and all of the numbers will look the same this way, but that's okay. All right, so now we have actual numbers aligned to the actual left itself, and of course we have the table headings and the table definitions. So again, this is actual HTML. You're using tables here. We try not to use a lot of tables in itself, but it's short, it's quick, it's simple, it's bare bones, and there's nothing too special to actually look at here. But this is something where we would actually say, okay, at least I have it under my belt, because there might be a section on the actual web page where we might need to actually utilize some tables. Okay, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go on ahead and leave it in the actual comments itself. You can always email me as well. Please, if you want to actually continue seeing the additional information, you can subscribe to the actual channel itself and hit the notifications as well. So that way you'll actually receive an alert as to the additional emails, or I'm sorry, the additional actual videos that are out. Okay, Mr. Stack out.